Hey KAWP TV watchers, we're doing another episode today with Sheila Kalas. Sheila is the owner of Fitness Plus here in Lexington, Kentucky. Sheila is a certified personal trainer. She's also an exercise physiologist and a golf pro. So we got a lot that Sheila can help us with today, but these are crazy times. Sheila, a lot of us are at home, not in the gyms, not able to do some of the things that we're used to doing. And I'm a golfer, obviously you're a golfer, but are there some things that we can do at home to actually improve our golf game without having to come to the gym and get strong, etc.?
Well, I think there's a lot that you can do at home. I know in this town, we're happy that for the most part people can still play golf and get out.
Right.
But we're just starting to get into nice weather. There's still rainy days and time when people can't get out, and that is the time when people have the opportunity to work on their game. There are lots of things that we can work on. I mean, if you want, you can really work on your putting and put a putting mat down, but nobody wants to do that. What they want is they want to hit the ball further.
300 yards, that's all I want.
Yes, they want to hit the ball further. A distant second would be accuracy, but they want to hit the ball further. And so what I would like to take the opportunity to do is to talk a little bit about what makes the golf swing, what makes the golf ball go further. I think people have a misunderstanding of that. And then once we understand what truly makes a golf ball go further, then a few exercises to help you get better at those specific things.
Okay.
So number one, I'm not a big person, but if you look at the LPGA Tour, there's a lot of scrawny women out there. I mean, young, thin women that are hitting the ball 240, 270 yards.
Right.
So if we're thinking that muscle mass equals golf distance, I don't necessarily see that correlation. Now, you can go to the long distance drive competition, and that is not golf.
Right.
That is a strength and power event. It's like people that work out in the gym versus bodybuilding. So you need to take those big muscle long distance drives out because they're not interested in playing golf.
Plus, they don't hit it in the zone
Right.
that often. I
No.
mean, they'll take 10 swings and get one or two in play.
So if you want to hit the golf ball further, the first thing you do is you do not watch those guys at all.
Okay.
And I think for the average male golfer, I think you can much more relate to a good LPGA female golfer than you can to Bubba Watson, Tiger Woods, all these Koepka. Let's be realistic. I mean, unless you're a scratch, if you're an under 3 handicap or a negative handicap, maybe. But if you're, 6, 8, 10, 18, 20, your game, your distances, the clubs that you use are going to mimic more of what the LPGA players do. So I think if you go on YouTube and you watch some full swings of some very accomplished female golfers, one of the things that you're going to see is a tempo and a club head speed that you can kind of relate to. Okay, we're not going to, the story you told of Tiger Woods hitting a 5-iron 252 yards, that swing you're never going to get. So that'd be my first hint is if you're a visual learner, maybe study some from there. And also, since we've now seen you don't need really big muscles to hit it far, LPGA players, what is it that is creating things that are giving that club head speed and the ball speed? And the word in golf that we hear a lot is called lag. Okay. You need to create some lag. That is actually, let's see, I can use something maybe to demonstrate. Let me go get a towel. I have a little lag demonstration for you. So lag is created with torque, and this towel is going to represent the body. And if I take the club back in a tight circle and I don't sway, okay, I take the club back in a tight circle and I don't sway, I'm twisting my body.
Right.
Okay. And when I have the club fully back, if I haven't swayed and my body is tight, I've created a very tight coil. And now at the top of my backswing, if I'm coiled tight and I let go from this position, I get speed. Okay, all I did was let go of the towel and I get speed, and the only reason I get speed, and the speed is from the ground up, the only way I get speed is if I've turned and made a tight coil, okay? Most amateurs don't make a tight coil because it's not so much flexibility that they don't have, which golfers think they need strength and flexibility.
Right.
You need some strength, but you need mobility in certain joints of your body to create a tight coil. So here's a golfer that does not have a tight coil. He turns as a unit and sways, and then when you let go, there's no swing speed.
Right.
So lag is created. Your body has the mobility to allow yourself to coil tightly. Your upper body rotates against your lower body, creating a coil, and we can do a demonstration, and I'll show you. So what is it that's going to make you sway less and use less energy and get that tight coil that allows the body to be wound up so it can release with some speed?
Right.
So that's where you want to be to hit the ball further. I think most golfers can identify that 1 in 100 drive that was effortless. I didn't even swing hard, and it goes 20 or 30 or 40 yards further than when you try to kill it. And we can't capture that. We don't know what we've done. And a lot of times that happens. Maybe we're in a round that we're defeated.
Right.
We don't care anymore. Or at the very beginning of the season before you start thinking.
Right.
You know, when you're swinging easy. I mean, there are some more subtle components of lag. I mean, I really believe soft arms, loose arms, and loose grip. So when you change direction, you know, you have some drag and lag. But the biggest key is being able to tightly coil. And there are some areas of the body that we can have a few exercises in which you can address. I mean, we have to have mobility. People think, oh, I can't turn, my shoulders are so tight. Well, I would argue to say your thoracic spine, so we have the cervical spine and our neck, and then the next section of our spine is our thoracic spine. Your thoracic spine is supposed to be very mobile. Okay. And most people don't really, why would my spinal column be mobile? It needs to be. If your thoracic spine is, if you have a good mobility in your thoracic spine, we can stretch some of these muscles in the chest, but I'll show you a thoracic spine mobility exercise that you should do before you play, that you should do it as a part of your workout. And if you increase the ability of your thoracic spine to turn, step number 1 in being able to create a tight turn. Your thoracic spine has no mobility. You start the turn, now you're done, so what are you going to do?
Right.
You're going to sway.
Right.
Okay? So we have mobility in the thoracic spine. We also need mobility in the pelvis and hip girdle. Most people, you don't study anatomy, the hip socket is a ball and socket joint, okay? So most people walk in a straight line and they just use their hip like this. Well, when you golf and I'm turning my upper body against my lower body, all of a sudden this joint with its mobility, it can go all different directions, but it's got to be able to move in a way that's very different than walking in what we call the sagittal plane.
Right.
If this joint is not only not mobile, it probably is not stable, because there are tiny little muscles in there that never get any attention in the weight room. You know, we're talking not about the big gluteus maximus, but what about the little gluteus medius? What about our ab and adductors, inner and outer thigh? The hip joint needs to be mobile, and those muscles have to help stabilize it. The minute we stop the turn and the minute we start the sway, we lose energy and we go to that dead unit turn, you know, where we're not going to get any distance no matter how hard you swing. And the harder you swing without a tight turn, the more you're probably taking the club outside, the more you're coming over the top, and all you're doing is making a bigger and bigger either dead pull or a big banana slice. I also like to talk about mobility in your ankles and in your feet. People don't give them any love either. They're just these appendages. I would challenge anybody that is a golfer who has not hit balls in their bare feet to hit balls in their bare feet. Because when you put on big clunky golf shoes, it's like protection. Like, I don't have to think about my feet. I've got these spikes. They're holding me. I don't have to pay any attention. And a lot of people I watch on the backswing, they roll to the outside of the feet. On the foreswing, there's a lot of wasted energy. Your feet are a very important part of this turn too.
Right.
You know, just keep a tight coil. if I take off my shoes and I hit in my bare feet without the protection, I start to realize I can't move too much. If I start getting sloppy in bare feet, well, one, it'll hurt. You're dragging your feet around. You'll lose your balance. You won't. And so hitting balls, even if it's just a wedge in your bare feet, and all of a sudden your feet, you'll start to feel the ground. We think, oh my gosh, there's a whole lot of muscles in your feet, 100 of them.
Right.
There's 26 bones. There's a lot going on in that ankle and foot complex that can either help you get a better turn, which that mobility and turn gives us our distance, or it can hurt you. And again, you're wasting energy in sliding. So I would love to show a little bit of the golf swing and maybe give people some understanding of what I'm talking about, and then show you exercises to work on that mobility for the thoracic spine, some areas, some exercises and stretches to work on mobility and stability of the hips, and then mobility of the ankle and foot.
And obviously, these are things that you can just do at home. I mean, you don't need a gym.
You don't need it. Absolutely not. Absolutely.
And they probably assist with just core strength, just to keep your posture, everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, posture is a big part of golf too.
Sure.
If you got a big gut out here, it's hard to have a good golf swing, and if you're all hunched over, it's hard to have a good golf swing. But at the very least, if you want to at least try to put yourself in a position to get the maximum distance, even before you go take a lesson from a pro, if you're not mobile and stable in some areas, then no pro is going to be able to help you. If you get your body functioning a little better, now you have some room to improve. Now you can work on softening your grip, relaxing your arms, making a tighter turn, and releasing more through the ball. I mean, just doing these exercises don't equate to necessarily golf skill, but at least it's preparing you for the opportunity to perform the golf swing correctly.
Before I forget, anybody out there that wants to get in touch with Sheila, she can work with you in your golf game. She can also work with you on your nutrition, work with you on getting yourself into shape. She has a website. It's fitplusinc.com. Facebook, all those things. We'll link them in the description so that if you're looking to get in touch with Sheila, they'll be there. Don't forget to like us. Don't forget to subscribe. And please follow us on our social media as well. So Sheila, go ahead and take us out and let's take a look at some of these exercises.
That sounds good.
Okay, Sheila, so take us through a couple things.
Look at that old golf club. Leather grip, blades.
There is a whole market. I've got Karsten Pings from 1966. So those were the clubs my dad played with. When he passed away, I had no intention to sell them, but they were still in the garage. And when I was doing the getting rid of all their junk, they were in the corner, and a guy came in, and he just walked up. He picked the whole setup and walked up to me and said, "How much you want for these?" I said, "Oh, no, I meant to get those out of here. I'm not going to sell those." And he's like, "I'll give you $100 for them." People were going around offering $1 for stuff. He's like, "I'll give you $100 for them." I was like, "I'm not going to sell them on that." So, fast forward, I just went on eBay to find out what the putter was worth.
Oh, I got the old ones. Karsten Pings. How much were they going for?
$150 just for the putter. Yeah. So anyway.
These are the old Hogan Apex.
Well, you really got to be good to hit one of these in the center of the club face and not make it shatter your fillings in your teeth. So,
Well, I don't play with these anymore, but I demonstrate with them. So, before we get into the exercises, I wanted to give people a visual of what I was talking about, creating lag by turning tightly. So, in a lab, looking at thousands of golfers, low handicappers, single-digit handicappers versus high handicappers, one of the trends that was overwhelming, and the biggest difference between low and high handicappers are that low handicappers rotate their hips on the backswing too much, while high handicappers turn their upper body against their lower body and rotate their hips much less, creating that torque which gives us that quick uncoil in the leg. So just a golf drill that I would like to give anybody that's looking is if you back your tush up to the wall with or without a club, but you want to mimic your swing. When you are taking the club back, which I'm a right-handed golfer, so I'm taking the club back to the right. If you focus, and I can feel with my butt what direction my butt is going, my hips, as I am taking the club back, which direction did my hips go?
Yeah.
Opposite.
Right.
So if the first thing is if you mimic your swing and you don't feel your hips going the other way, you got no lag happening in your swing. Most people will feel
Like a sway.
well, and that would make sense. My body is going to the right. That's incorrect. Your body is turning, but when I turn, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
So if I put something here, you should turn into this.
Well, I might not hit it going this way, but my right cheek, see how this is going to be, that right cheek is going to be going because we're starting to coil.
Right. We're moving toward the club.
Yes, we're starting to coil again. So that's one thing, just to test.
Okay.
Are we even starting to turn our upper body?
So if we can't make that move right there, we're losing power right out of the gate.
Absolutely, right out of the gate. So my shoulders are going to turn, and we're going to turn against my lower body. And when I get to the top of my backswing, I feel a lot of tension here because I'm turning against, and I feel a lot of tension here. Look at these legs. I'm not amateur, high handicapper golfers at this point of the swing look like this.
Okay.
Okay? So I am pushing, my upper body is going, the club is going this way, I'm tightening the opposite way, I've got a lot of torque. So when I start to uncoil, I don't have to throw my hand, I just have to uncoil just like that towel from the bottom up.
You've got stored energy,
You've got
and
stored
you're just
energy.
letting it go.
Yeah. Dustin Johnson is a good golfer to look at as far as he has a very dramatic, when he's at the top of his backswing, and if the camera is behind him, you really see how he's uncoiling from the bottom, and his upper body really hangs back, and he uncoils and comes way underneath. Where an amateur golfer throws,
They're trying to hit it with their arms.
They're trying to hit him with their arms. So one is we have to be in a position where at the top of the backswing, we feel that we've created some tension. People don't realize this is part of your core. Your core is doesn't mean middle, it means corset.
Okay.
The corset of muscles that run from your knees to your chest. So when I'm in this position, I have much of my core engaged, from my chest here, and then from my hips all down my inner thigh, including my glutes. This glute right here is really working. Okay, so getting a good coil is the first part of lag. So when I coil, a lot of lag comes from the transition. When I come from the top of my swing, if my first move is from the ground and my arms are relaxed, what you'll see is a little snap in that. So I get to the top and there's this little drop. Now I get a lot of power when I don't do anything with my arms and I start to uncoil from the bottom with these soft arms. If I start with my hands, you got no power. You got no power.
Right.
So relaxing your arms and doing the transition first with your lower body, you'll kind of feel this little gap. It's like when you used to snap a towel when you were a kid.
Right.
You know, if you relax a little bit and right when you fully extend, if you just snap back, and that's kind of what it'll feel like when you're at the top. If you start with the bottom, it's like the little snap of a whip.
Well, Harvey Pinnock talks about moving the right arm down and to your side.
Right here.
Is that what you're talking
Yes.
about? It's
Yes.
the transition is you're dropping it down a little bit.
But it's less active than you think. It's less you pulling your elbow in than it
letting it
is of its uncoiling. It just kind of
Just
lands
goes
there.
there.
It just kind of lands there. And if you relax your arms, that's where it'll be. If your arms are active, it's probably not going to be there.
Okay.
You're going to force it. So one of the things that I tell people in their golf game is you have to learn to not artificially create. It's not a swing plane, but in golf, where your shoulders are. So my shoulders now are pointed this way. The club should follow your shoulders. Okay? In a bunker shot or a chip shot, if I'm standing open, if you're the target and I'm in a bunker shot and I'm standing open, my club is going to follow my shoulder line. And that still makes the ball with an open face. People manufacture a swing path that doesn't follow their shoulders at all. Again, watching a pro from the camera behind them, if you've ever seen a pro hit a shot and the target is right there, and the camera is right there, you swear that that golfer just hit the ball to the right.
Absolutely, I see that all the time.
And you think, oh my God, he just hit it way to the right. Not so. But look at the line of my shoulders. A good golfer is just going to swing along their shoulders, and it looks like this at impact, but it very quickly turns over, and the ball starts out to the right, comes back to the left. So if my shoulders are pointed this way, and I'm going to make the club come this way, that's not a good golf swing, okay? That takes some time, but let's get back to, before we start to work on those, is my body even capable of doing this?
Right.
So that little move that I did, where my glutes go the other way, that takes mobility in my thoracic spine, some mobility in my hip girdle, some stability in my hips, so I don't, instability, not so much strength, instability is what causes me to sway. So let's first take a little opportunity to make our upper body a little more open for the golf swing, better posture, and then more mobile.
Okay.
First thing to make it more open is back up against a wall, heels, butt, crown of your head, or back of your head. Test number 1, can you put your arms and can your fingers touch the wall? Test number 2, can you get your head touching the wall without looking like this?
Right.
So if you're like this, my chest is pretty open, okay? If you are like this, your chest is too tight. So use the wall, even if you can't get your knuckles back yet. I'd rather your head be away from the wall. I don't want you to lift your chin. But slide, try to keep your knuckles along the wall, or at least where they were, all the way up here. It doesn't look like anything.
Right.
It's a big stretch of your chest.
So this is something people can do at home.
This is something people can do at home. You might have to take some pictures off the wall to get you a wall to do it.
Right.
You can do it freestanding, but this is what happens is, people's arms.
They don't like that.
This is the trainer.
Okay.
This is your trainer. This is going to help you. Okay? Work on that, and that's just, who wants to walk around like this all the time? Very hard to swing if you have tight chest.
And how many times do we do that?
I would do it, I would start out with 5 because it's hard.
Okay.
But if you can get to where you're doing 10 every morning, and before I drive to the golf course, I want to start telling my golf muscles.
This is one that we want to do.
Wake up, golf muscles, we're going to start moving. So that's a little posture that gets us in a position, because we have much more mobility when our posture is correct. So I'm going to show you a standing way to work on the mobility of your thoracic spine, okay? So you're going to stand sideways to the wall, and I have my wall leg in front and the one away from the wall and back, and I'm going to make a right angle, and I'm going to put my other arm right on top.
Okay.
Okay? From this position, all I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate and open up and try to get to here. Now, if you look at my hips, that's a really good golf. That's where my hips should be in golf. Not like that. So this is my upper body, my thoracic spine rotating against my lower body, and you might have a little trouble right there.
So some cues are shoulder stays in contact with the wall.
That's what you want to get.
Hip stays in contact with the wall.
Yes, hip stays in contact with the wall.
Okay.
And even though if you're right-handed, you still want to go both ways. We want our spine to be mobile both ways. And you'll probably find that, I'm much better on one side than the other. That is totally normal.
Okay.
One side, I would not do this mobility exercise like this.
Okay.
I would go slow, deliberate. I would hold for a count of 3 to 5, hold the stretch. I would repeat that 5 to 10 times. So those are things you can do in the locker room. Those are 2 things you can do in the locker room, okay? So now I'm going to get on the ground, since we're all bored and we're stuck at home. a really good thoracic spine stretch while you're lying in the ground. We call it the alligator stretch.
Okay.
So we get into what most people would call the fetal position, where I have my knees bent.
Right.
And my arms now are going to become the mouth of the alligator. Okay? So the alligator is going to open its mouth, and I am going to follow my fingers with my eyes all the way until I lay this hand over here. But what's very important is to focus on what my knees look like right now. My knees are together,
Yes.
and my hips are perpendicular to the ground. So this is correct, even if you can only get to here.
Okay.
But this is correct, this is incorrect. Okay, now we're doing that same one-piece golf swing. We're not getting any torque.
Right, you're losing the lag.
So now the personal trainer would push this leg down.
Okay.
But sometimes I'll tell people to put a ball or a pillow. It gives them something to squeeze. And it's also important that you want to follow with your eyes and rotate your head. Because this is exactly what you want to feel. I have a lot of tension in my core, and that's what we need to build in the golf swing. And that's the first sign that we're developing lag. You want to do that on both sides. Again, one side might be more flexible than the other. Open. If I was warming up for golf, I might hold it for just 3 seconds and do 5 or 10. But if my mobility in my thoracic spine stinks, I might do this and hold it for a minute every morning or after a workout or something, because that's how we're going to see improvement.
Sheila, is there, people say, oh, my tee time's at 10, and I rush to the tee, and I don't have time for all this. Can these stretches be done an hour before your tee time?
Oh, they can be done on the first tee.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't have my wall, but I have my club.
Okay.
Okay, so I can just, try that stretch, like imagine that I'm against the wall, where I'm waking up the muscles in my shoulder girdle, and I can hold on maybe to my golf cart or walk up to my golf cart and let's see, how would let me see, what's the best way to do a thoracic spine stretch? Well, I tell you, I would just take my golf club and keep my lower body still, and I would just rotate
Straight on.
against my lower body,
Right.
creating that tension here,
Right.
because this is how I want to turn. And don't forget, I'm rotating my thoracic spine, but I'm also now engaging those inner thigh muscles that have to be
Right.
stable to keep our golf swing.
Right.
You can lean on the golf club and you can stretch your hip a little bit if you want on either side. I don't mind, it's okay to wake up your hamstrings. But getting ready for golf is not grabbing 2 clubs and taking 20 practice swings.
Right.
Okay? What you would want to do is you want to get rotation ready, and then you want to maybe do something for your hips. If you don't have time, I'm going to show you a mobility foot and ankle exercise. Even if you just did some toe raises, and even with your club, if you just did some ankle circles, again, lots of muscles and bones in the feet that are very key to a stable swing. We start wobbling around down here, but if you have some time at home and it's part of your workout program, you can do your wall stretches, you can do your alligator stretch, and then while you're down here, mobility for your ankle is very simple. You just hold your leg up and flex your foot, and you do ankle circles. But if you have good mobility in the ankle, if you see me doing circles, all that's moving is my ankle. If you have bad mobility in the ankle, your ankle circles kind of look like this. Your whole
Right.
leg is going around. So I would go clockwise 10 or 20 times and counterclockwise. And then since the ankle is so mobile, we're going to do plantar and dorsiflexion. So plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, again 20 times, both feet.
Right.
And then mobility in your hip, very easy, comfortable stretch, the frog stretch. Just put the soles of your feet together, and guess what? Just hang out for a minute or 2
Right.
or 3.
Right.
So this is just going to loosen up this whole pelvic girdle. So, think how simple on the floor. A little alligator stretch, get your whole thoracic spine, really engage your core. You got inner and outer thigh work. Then you do some ankle circles, simple, 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 with a big payoff. then we're going to loosen up our hips. So now, when we go to the fancy resort and we're paying $100 for a 30-minute golf lesson, at least maybe the pro can look at you and say, well, you know what? You can perform the movement. You can perform the movement. Now your tempo's a little quick, you're lifting up through the downstroke, but what I know is you can get to the position that you need for power, okay? Which is mobility in that thoracic spine to turn against your lower body, mobility in your ankles and feet that are going to allow these pressures to be put, and you worked on some of your core strength. Even just doing some of these stretching exercises are going to help engage your core.
Sheila, how long does it take I'm 55, how long does it take for somebody like myself to get a bit of a payoff from these stretches? Because people tell me, I stretch 2 or 3 times, and I'm no better than I was. How long does it take for a person to actually start to get a benefit?
In my experience, when people are good, and if I give them homework and say, I want you to work on that every day, and you're talking about 3 or 4 exercises.
Right.
If you commit to doing those every day, I've seen amazing changes in 6 weeks. Amazing changes as to completely, somebody not being able to put their head on the wall, not being able to put their knuckles on the wall, so I don't think that's a very long time.
Right.
And especially, you're beginning of the golf season, you've got some time.
Well, I want to give some people a carrot.
Okay.
Because if we said, okay, you're hitting the ball, you're averaging 210 yards off the tee, but we can see that you don't have any lag in your swing, and it's probably because you're tight. So in 6 weeks, you're going to get a little more flexibility, a little more mobility, and your lag's going to increase, so you're going to be able to hit the ball a lot farther. So in 6 weeks, most people should be able to hit the ball farther if they perform these stretches.
In my experience, so I'm a golfer, and even though I'm a good golfer and used to be a professional golfer, when I laid off for 15 years and coming back, and now I'm 56, and I've had a lifetime of running in a straight line, so I'm working back on my mobility, but I certainly wasn't as mobile as I was in my 20s.
Sure.
So what I know is when my swing is grooved and I'm loose and I'm getting that lag, my drives are 240. When I don't have my lag and I'm quick, 200.
Wow, that big a difference.
That's that big of a difference. And I know in a round, and it's at least a club or 2 on my irons. When my tempo and my turn is tight and that lag is there for me, it's 40 yards.
Okay.
It's 40 yards. So I certainly think and you're not talking about, the swing speed comes from the lag.
Right.
The swing speed does not come from you trying to swing it faster. And when you relax those arms and smooth your tempo, a smooth tempo, there are 2 types of golfers. There's hitters and swingers. But the Tiger Woods and the Johnny Millers and the Greg Normans, those hitters are rare, and it's hard on your body. You want to be a swinger. The LPGA girls are swingers. Focus on them. And if you just cannot stand the fact of watching a woman golf, Bubba Watson is a pretty good swinger, but Ernie Els and Fred Couples, the best.
Right.
Does Fred Couples ever look like he's putting any effort into a golf swing? If you think you have to be a hitter, that you can't hit it far being a swinger, go watch Ernie Els, go watch Fred Couples, go watch the LPGA players, and get into your mind that you do not have to try to swing fast. You have to try to be mobile and try to create lag.
See, that's counterintuitive to a lot of people who want to come in and they want to work out because they want to hit the ball farther. But that's not necessarily what you're saying is what you should be doing.
No, I'm getting ready to train a friend of mine. He's 77. You look at him and think he was 60. And it just kills him that he can't hit the ball far. He is so immobile.
Okay.
And so he says he's hiring me as a trainer and he can't wait. And I'll do anything, and I'll do these ropes. And he's going to be a little shocked because the plan that I have for him is working a lot on his mobility and his very small stability muscles. He's already a strong guy, but he has to stand like this, targets out this way, because the only way he can get the club back, he's got no mobility, so he has no power because he can't do a tight turn. So I'm gonna benefit him a lot more if I can work on the tightness of his turn than getting him to do the bench press.
And that's, you got to be a little more patient with that, okay? Because you have to take your time. The form has to be good. It's not just coming in here and working on the big pretty muscles where you can look in the mirror and say, oh, I've got a pump.
Right.
This is more patience.
Yes, yes. And, you know, if you're playing with somebody that's hitting at 300 yards, I know that's hard. That's hard. And especially if you're playing with a young person who's hitting at 300 yards and they're that real aggressive golfer and you think, well, I'm just not swinging hard enough. You've got to teach yourself, and with technology the way it is today, you know, information like this being on YouTube, but also you can pull up almost any golfer and see a slow motion full swing and watch these pieces that I'm talking about, watch the takeaway while the body's going this way, the hips are turning away. If this golf club were here on the backswing, the hips are turning away. You're gonna see it, you're gonna see the torque develop, you're gonna see that directional change at the top with these relaxed arms where that elbow is here instead of pulling the club this way. You just ignore those arms and start uncoiling from the bottom. Then you get in the position and you'll see on those videos the club coming from the inside and you're thinking that golfer just hit it to the right. But that's the way you hit a golf ball. That's the way you hit a golf ball.
Okay, so all of you old guys like me who think that you have to, in your foursome, be the guy that outdrives your other three partners, and I'm a tall, kind of a big guy, and it just drives me crazy when my partner who's 5'9" hits it 30 yards past me. It's probably because I have poor mobility in my thoracic spine. I don't have good shoulder flexibility, and probably I'm not loading myself properly. So use the exercises and stretches that Sheila has shown you today, and hopefully the next time you play with your foursome, you'll be the guy that they'll be jealous of. Sheila, thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome. Okay.
Good job.
Cool.
Hey, Sarah.